Welcome to Thank You Notes and References. We're going to talk about some very vital communication forms that are really big in the job search right now. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about these two different topics. I want to let you know a couple of things ahead of time. For those who are here live on the presentation, at the end you'll be able to download this recording so you have all the information. You'll be able to see all the URLs and all the information that I have on the slides, but take notes as well. Also want to ask that if you're coming in by telephone right now in the live presentation, you put your name and your job seeker ID in the chat field, and I'm going to show you where to find the chat field in a minute. So please put your name and job seeker ID only if you came in by telephone. Everyone that's in by computer, we're all set. We can see you. Now we've got more than 50 people online with us today, so I'm going to do my best to answer questions. Hopefully we'll get through this, make it a nice, enjoyable hour for some information that's really important for your job search. Okay? So let me say to you right now, before we get started any further, my name is Nancy Quinn, and I am a workshop facilitator and career advisor here at MassHire Metro North Career Center. That's where our crazy email address comes from, MHMNCC, MassHire Metro North Career Center. It comprises of Woburn, Chelsea, and Cambridge. Those three centers together are Metro North. So welcome. Glad to have you here. You're in my home. This is it. Dust bunnies and all. Here's where I live. So I want to let you know that I've worked in career services for more than 15 years. I'm in career services because it's where my passion lies. I find great joy in helping people convey their value and get back to work. I've been in your shoes. Several times I've been unemployed. When I got out of college, I was in the travel industry. I worked in travel agencies for 15 years, and I stayed with that industry till it was dead and buried. I got laid off of every agency that closed, and I went on to the next one till they closed because I just didn't want to let it go because I loved it so much. It was a load of fun. But anyway, I had to let go. I had to retool my career, and it wasn't easy, and it wasn't fun, and it wasn't smooth, but I did it. And I'm here in another place where I'm just as happy as I was before. Never thought that would happen. So it can be done. You can do it. My suggestion to you, take all the workshops you possibly can. All the career centers, especially ours, are here to help you with this. So take advantage. Okay, so I understand. And I understand that it's not easy. But give yourself some credit. It's Friday morning and you're here. Good for you. Good for you. Okay, I'm going to shut off my camera right now so we can focus on the slide presentation. What I'm going to say is if you want to communicate, I would love it if you would go to the chat and talk to me via the chat, please. So again, we're recording this today. So if you're here in the live presentation, the chat will work. What you want to do if you're on a telephone, take a look at your telephone, look for the little picture of the person, the participant, click on that, you should get a chat box. And you just want to chat back and forth. Again, if you're on by telephone only, not by computer, but just strictly by telephone, put in your name and your job seeker ID. Now, for those of you that are coming in by a Mac or by a laptop or by any other kind of tablet or anything like that, take a look at your control panel and you'll find that there's a button, usually on the right, on the bottom, and it's a circle. It's got a little bump on it. It looks like a quote sign, if you can remember those days. And that's what you click on to put your messages in here. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, again, if you want to communicate, answer questions, ask questions, please put them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer questions. Okay? Now, here's our goals for the day for thank you notes. Why are they a must? When do you send them? How do you customize them? Who do you send them to? And equally as important, what not to say. All of these points are so vital, I can't tell you. It sounds like a simple topic, but it's a little more complex nowadays than it used to be. So we're going to go over these piece by piece, nice and slow. Like I said before, it's always good measure to take a nice deep breath and sit back and relax. Okay, now The scary word when we talk about job search is marketing. We are all marketing ourselves. Sorry to say, it's a scary word, but that's what it is. You are a marketing presentation. And what you're doing right now with every step of your job search is selling what you have, what your skills, knowledge, and abilities are. Part of it are hard skills, some are soft skills. If you're not comfortable with those, take a look at those, do some Googling to feel more comfortable with those. It's a must that you sell yourself. Sending a thank you note after an interview shows professionalism, it shows follow through, and it shows common courtesy. That's not so common anymore. Thank you notes are very, very important. Per topresume.com, which is a great free resume website that you can go on, 1/3 of all job seekers do not send thank you notes. Be one of those who does send thank you notes. It's one more place to market yourself. It's one more place to show your professionalism. It's one more place to bring yourself back to the front of their mind. Really important that you send thank you notes. And again, I'm going to say it over and over again. You're going to think I'm being repetitive, but I say it because it's that important. Now, people always say, should they be written? Should they be emailed? What do you think? Anybody? You want to put it in the chat? Should they be written or emailed? Does anybody have a... Okay, someone says written. Okay. Someone says emailed. I have emailed, I have written, I have email, email, written, email, both. Email both, either both. Okay, good answer. Honestly, it depends on who you're dealing with. Generally speaking, if you've been talking to them or communicating with them by email, I would say email would be the way to go. If you're coming up against a deadline and they're going to make a decision quickly, I would say email is the way to go. Generally speaking, right now, email is the way to go. You might want to follow up with a written note, but again, because of ageism, you want to be careful with that. We have a couple of separate workshops that talk about ageism. The thing I would do is, generally speaking, use an email, but there are always exceptions. If you're applying to a law firm, a very traditional, old-fashioned company, then a written note might be better. So take a look at who your target is. If your target is a company that you've been dealing with on email and online and everything's automated, go with an emailed thank you note. Generally speaking, that's the best thing to do. But what does Monster.com say? Well, they say showing your gratitude is always a good look, especially during a job search. This means promptly. Within 24 hours is what promptly means. Thank your interviewers. A thank you email after an interview is most popular and accepted method of follow-up with your potential future employer. One more time where you can say why they should pick you. This entire presentation that is your job search is a marketing presentation. This is one more piece, one more time where you can remind them of your value. You don't get a lot of time in front of them. You get a limited amount of time in front of their eyes. You get a limited number of time in front of their ears and their vision and in person and on the phone. Make the most of it. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons to use either. Email is generally accepted. Some people like to follow up with a written note. Some people feel that you have to be careful with that because of ageism. So I would say go with email if in doubt. And as it says here, if you're applying to a traditional company, a handwritten note may be used, but it's not generally common right now. Now, someone asked a question, how soon after the interview is the optimum time? Within 24 hours. Within 24 hours. That's the optimal time. Now, let me say, if you if you had an interview 3 days ago and you forgot to send one, send it now. It's always better late than never. But thank you notes make a big impact. Sometimes a company can be getting down to the last 2 people. They have 2 people that they've decided upon were fantastic for the job. And then you say to yourself, well, they're both great. They're both fantastic. They're both perfect. They both provided everything. They're both wonderful. Who sent a thank you note? Someone says that they heard applying right away was not good. Someone else said they heard that sending it right after is good. You're going to hear a lot. You're going to hear a lot. And we're getting on to what should be in them in a minute. So hold on. It's better for you to send an email right away because it's fresh in your mind. Something you want to make sure that you do in your thank you note is you remind them of something someone said that made an impact in the conversation. That's coming up. Okay? Now, someone said you also need to send a thank you to a recruiter. It never hurts to send a thank you. After a phone interview, send a thank you. After a regular interview, send a thank you. Whenever someone spends their time with you, you're thanking them for the use of their time. And that's what we're doing. We're being courteous and thanking for the use of their time. So, better safe than sorry. It should be short. Again, we're going to get into it. I'm going to give you some samples of how you do what you need to do on it. So hold on. It's coming. Now, should I attach it or paste it? Again, we're getting into the technical side. And I want to get through the technical side, and then we'll get into how to pull it together. You have to remember that people are generally reluctant to open attachments. So usually it's best to put it in the text of the email. Set it up in a Microsoft document or a separate document, write it up and have it ready. Copy and paste it into the body of an email that you send. Some people also attach it. Again, up to you. You're going to get all kinds of answers. People are going to give you all kinds of opinions about how you should do everything in the job search. I'm in the middle here, going down the middle of the road. Okay? So again, cut and paste. Someone said, what do you put in the subject line? I would put in the job title and my name. Career Advisor Nancy Quinn. That's what I would put in the job title. In the subject line. The job title and my name. Put your name everywhere. Everywhere. And that pretty much is professional. Very professional. You'll be surprised at the things people write. So the general way of thinking is you put your name and the job title. There are other ways to do it. Again, it's up to you. A lot of people say, I want to be unique. I want to be different. You can go with anything that you want to. Nothing's wrong. We're just talking about middle of the road. You could make it personal. Some people say, can you make it personal? Absolutely. You could make it personal. Someone wrote, following up from our interview today. You could put that. Again, you can put what you want to. Generally speaking, the more often you put your name in there if you're going to say something else. Put your name in there. Put your name everywhere. You want them to remember you. You can put a catchy phrase. You can put a regular phrase. Now it says if you choose to strictly attach it and you do not copy it into the body, be sure to write a brief introduction in the email body saying, I have attached a thank you note for your time. And that way they'll feel more comfortable opening the attachment. So again, make everything about your job search yourself. There are going to be people that like putting their name in the job title. There are going to be others that want to be more creative. Everyone has to take what they can from this webinar, use it, and customize it for you. Okay, someone said many companies forbid people to open outside attachments, and that's true. So again, copy and paste. And if you really feel you want to, attach it as well. They don't have to open it. There's all kinds of reasons for both sides. copy and paste generally is the best. Now, to email a thank you, the one thing I want to tell you, we have a job fair March 24th. It's a virtual job fair, March 24. A week before, on the 17th, we have a webinar on how to work a virtual job fair. When we put these job fairs together, whenever I can, I talk to the HR people and the recruiters and the people that are coming to the job fair to represent the jobs. One of the things I hear over and over and over is that all these people want you to do is to follow their directions. Period. Don't do more than they ask. Don't do less than they ask. What they say over and over is, please follow my directions. That's the thing that's most important. So again, I'm just saying to you, generally speaking, if they say they want a Word doc, you do a Word doc. If they say a Word doc, don't send a PDF. If they say they want a PDF, send a PDF. If they don't say either, it's generally best to send a Word document, just because most programs understand that. That's all. Attach, but add the introduction to the body of the email. If you choose to attach it, make sure you put an introduction. Name the file with the company's name and your name. Again, some people choose to put a more creative stance to that, and that's fine. Make sure you have a professional email address. The one thing I want to tell you about your job search, and on Tuesday, we have a resume workshop, and it's going to close at 1 o'clock today. So if you're interested in Resume 1, and that is Tuesday the 16th at 1 o'clock, please sign up for it before 1 o'clock today. We talk about all the facets of the resume there, but one thing I talk about in almost all of my workshops is, please do not use AOL for your job search email. Please use Gmail. Use a Gmail account. It has the best security on your end. It has the best security on the company's end that's opening it or looking at it. Most companies prefer it, and it is the modern way to go. It's the current trend in job search. Gmail accounts. They are free. Again, make it simple. Put your name in there. Nancy Quinn 2021 at gmail.com. Nancy Quinn, workshop facilitator at gmail.com. And some people are saying, how about Comcast? How about Verizon? How about, the best is Gmail. The worst is AOL. You can use Comcast, but again, it's not the best. Anything can be used, but I'm suggesting Gmail. Okay, people are saying, can I use Outlook? Can I use Yahoo? You can use any one of them. The best one is Gmail. The most commonly preferred because of the safety factor. Someone said Yahoo is bad. Exactly. Yahoo, Hotmail, not good. AOL, not good. It's an ageism problem. It's all about age. You want to be current in all of your technology. And the current technology is Gmail right now. Okay, but again, make sure you don't have a silly address. Make sure everything is professional. Now, when do I send it? Within 24 hours, as I already mentioned. Generally, sooner is better. Send it right away. Someone asked, do companies give instructions about sending thank you notes? No, it's strictly up to you. When you finish your interview, you should get the name and the address, email address of the people that interviewed you, so you'll have the correct spelling. It's something you want to ask for. When they say at the end, do you have any questions? At the end of an interview, ask them if you could copy down, if you don't have it already, their email address in case you want to be in touch. That's something you can do when you set up the interview. When you talk with the reception person that calls you up and says, Mr. Smith wants to meet with you Tuesday at 2 o'clock. You set the whole thing up with that person and say, can I ask you for the email addresses of the people that are going to be there so that I can send them a thank you note afterwards? So it's totally up to you to get the contact information for the person that you're dealing with. If there are more people than one, get all of their different emails. Now it says here, use a line that reminds them of you. Mention a key point that was said during the interview. Make them remember you. Yes, you're going to point out one more thing about yourself that's fantastic or that was interesting, creative, or innovative. It's going to be a short thank you, a couple of paragraphs at most, but it's going to be impactful. You need to remind them of something that was said during the interview. That's one of the reasons that you take notes during an interview. So again, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I will do my best to answer them. If I don't answer them, it's probably because your answer's coming. Okay? But I'll keep an eye on it. All right. If there's more than one interviewer, my last interview that I had, there was 3 people interviewing me. The one prior to that, there were 5 people interviewing me. I had to think up 5 different thank you notes. I had to think up 5 different things. 5. I had to make a different point on each one because you know they're probably going to compare them when they do a comparison of you. Is it appropriate to send a thank you note to an employee that has not chosen to hire you? Well, you're sending the thank you note within 24 hours of the interview, so you don't know yet. You always send them after the interview because of the time they spent with you, period. Regardless of whether or not you got the job, it's thanking them for that. Someone also said a guide I read stated it was rude to take notes during an interview. What you want to do to avoid being rude is to ask them at the beginning of the interview if it's okay to take notes. If they don't like it, you don't take notes. If they don't mind, it is a good idea for some of us who need to take notes. So always ask. Again, we talk about it more in our interview workshops. Now, bring back a key point, but again, you're making sure that the key point is different on each of the thank you notes that you send. If you feel like the interview didn't go well, always send a thank you note for their time. It could be the one thing that repairs you from your fault that you might have made. Think of the thank you note as one more way to say, here I am. It's one more way to say, I'm engaged. I'm interested in this position. I would put a thank you note to anyone I spent time with. That's your best way to go. No matter how it went, thank them for their time. Here's a look at one. Thank you very much for your time yesterday. It was indeed a pleasure speaking with you all about the account executive role. Make sure you make mention of when you saw them and what you are applying for. From our conversation, it's clear that Longwood Incorporated has an energetic and hardworking environment I am seeking. Discussing your need for someone who can create trust and quality during client conversations was quite familiar. It's a unique challenge which I've continued to ponder on since our meeting. Over the last few years, I've encountered many of the same roadblocks we discussed, tightening budgets and lengthy decision-making processes. Clarifying and prioritizing the quality of the conversation over simple information delivery has been one of my most successful skills in overcoming those roadblocks. Show them a problem and how you fixed it. Tell them what the resolution of that is. It's one reason I have routinely exceeded my goals. You're not bragging, you're stating facts. In my relationships with customers, I focus on developing trust and delivering credibility. If you need any further information, please feel free to contact me by email or phone. Again, the first paragraph introduces you. Second paragraph discusses key points that make you a match. Last paragraph says, thank you. If you need anything else from me, if you need anything else, please feel free to contact me again by phone or email. You could also say, thank you. Okay, so this is how you put one together. This is an email. If you were to write it, and something I want to remind you that I tell every group that I do, you can Google anything. What you might want to do is Google what is a proper email for an interview follow-up, and read a few. Someone thinks that the second paragraph is too long. Someone else thinks it's fine because it represents accomplishment and something that makes them connect to each other. Everybody's going to find different things in different ones that's going to make a difference. Really, really good question here, and they're all good. Trust me, they are all good. Someone said using Mr. or Mrs. versus first name. Yes, use a proper title. Unless in the interview they said, call me Bob. If the interview was very informal and they kept saying to you, call me Bob, dear Bob, go along with the feeling of the process as it has been to this point. Use their proper title if you are not told to use their personal first name. Okay? So again, you might want to make it shorter. You might want to make it longer. Someone said, could using a title show your age? Well, most people do use age. In these days of gender changing IDs is Mr. Old-fashioned. If you find that they put his, identifying as his/him, use the first name. If you find that they have their signature that you notice, or you notice they define themselves on their website as she/her, use their first name. If you think gender identity is going to be an issue, take a look on their website and see how they identify themselves. Otherwise, middle of the road, generally speaking, you can use Mr., Mrs. You could put Dear Susan Clark. Right now, it's fluid. We're using them all, frankly. Best way to find out if it's something that's important to them is to go to their website and read their website to see if they define themselves that way. Okay, good question. So that's one possibility. Here's another one. Again, it's jammed together because I only have one page, so you can spread it out a little bit. But dear Ms. Lopez, someone says, thank you for taking the time to speak with me about the marketing coordinator role. It was great to meet with you and learn more about the exciting position. I'm very intrigued by the opportunity to join DeVille Canyon Marketing, and I'm particularly interested in the details you shared about the upcoming launch of a new campaign. I'm excited about the prospect of taking on a project management and bringing my experience in successfully coordinating cross-functional initiatives to the table. Told them situation, told them what I want to do, mentioned something from the interview, mentioned how I can serve their purpose. After our conversation, I'm certain that my background, again, I'm certain, not I think, I'm certain my background in marketing and my interest in brand growth will enable me to confidently and successfully fill the job requirements and support the vision of DeVille Canyon Marketing. Please feel free to contact me if I can provide you with any further information or samples of my work. I look forward to hearing from you as soon as possible. Thanks again. Eve Norris. Someone asked if you can get these samples. When we're done with the presentation, I'm going to show you how to download the whole presentation. When you're doing an email, you can be informal like you are here, dear Ms. Lopez. It's okay to do that. It's okay to be informal with an email as far as not setting it up like a formal letter. That's okay. Okay, so that's the story. What not to say? Please don't say to whom it may concern. Please don't say that. You need to address it to specific people. It's very, very important that you do so. Don't say, it was so nice to meet you. I'm interested in the administrative assistant position. I appreciate your time talking to me about the job. I'm a really good fit. Please call me as soon as possible. Don't sound desperate. Give them factual information. Give them an example of why they should call you. Make them want to call you. Here's one I want you to really remember. Don't say this. Don't say I've been out of work for 9 months and began to start thinking I'd never find a job. My bills are piling up and my wife started to panic. She may leave me. Don't look pathetic. You want to look like a professional. Explain to them what you have to offer and how they can utilize your services. Okay? So again, we have a half an hour for that, so we are just about done with thank you notes. I appreciate your comments and your questions. One thing I want to remind you, you can Google all this information. When you Google information, make sure you're looking at recent articles and recent videos. Here's another one you don't want to say. I'm 65 years old and I feel like I faced age discrimination in the job market to the point where I could sue. You wouldn't be surprised at how many people think that's appropriate. It's not appropriate. So please don't make it negative. Make it positive. This is my last chance to get work. Holy moly, please hire me for this position. You don't want to say these things. You're qualified. You're experienced. You are not desperate. I can't tell you how many times I've seen things like this. I know you might feel that way, and you're justified in feeling that way. And I would say take our workshops on age. Our April calendar will be coming out in the next week or 10 days. But please, make sure you follow the first ones. Okay, now references. Here's what I want you to think of. You're doing a marketing plan. Your resume at the top, the way you put your contact information should match your cover letter at the top. The way you put your contact information should match your reference sheet on the top, should match the way you put your information on your cover letter and your resume. You should use the same format, the same font. You should use the same everything. Make it uniform. It is your brand. We have a workshop on branding. You want them to look at all your paperwork, look at it and see a pattern of a brand that represents you. What I've got here is one section of a reference. On your reference sheet, you're going to have this, as I have it here, and 2 more to follow. So you want to have 3 references. Let me just run through this. At the top, it says Ms. Anita Job. She put the word references. You don't have to put the word resume, and you don't have to put the word cover letter because it's obvious. But here you want to formally say references. Now, do you have to right align it, left align it? Make it match the other 2 forms. Whichever one you do on your resume and cover letter, do it the same on your reference sheet. Put your contact information and your email address. Underneath that, start with references. And in a minute, we're going to talk about who to ask. I want to start off with a sample first. Nora Owen, again, choosing not to use anything like Mr., Ms., Miss, whatever. That's fine. Go that way. Whichever way you choose to go, keep it uniform, okay? If you go with first name on the cover letter, go with first names on the resource page. Okay? I know Anita Job, that used to be my name. When I worked at BU in Career Services, my name was Anita Job. That was what my tag said on my desk. So we have Nora Owen. Then you put the title of the person. Then you put Lane Industries. Then you put their street address just because it's a formality. City, state, and zip code. You want to put their email address and then space it out so it looks neat. Ms. Owen was my direct supervisor when I worked as a regional coordinator from 2017 to 2021 at Lane Industries. Someone says I've had no contact with my last boss in over a year. He needs to be a reference, of course. You want to call and ask the people first if they will be a reference. You don't want to assume that. You want to call them first and say, I'm in a job search right now, and I was wondering if I could utilize you as a reference. I'll be happy to give you more information when the jobs get specific, but for right now, I would rather that you let me know if it's okay. I just want to be sure before I proceed. And again, someone said most companies say they can't be a reference, then you have to find somebody else. It should really, if it can be, from your last couple of jobs. Personally, I've had a couple of bosses die on me, so I can't use them as references. So I find someone else in my life that are professional people. I have a friend that's a VP at American Express. She has nothing to do with job search, but she's a professional and she knows me as a professional, so I utilize her as a reference. You can use clergy as a reference. You can use a boss from a couple of years ago. You need to ask people. Someone said the owner director of was my direct supervisor for 10 years. They sold the business and retired. Would I need to use them as a reference? Ask them. You need to get a hold of them. You need to find them. You need to track them down. You need to ask them, do they mind being a reference? You can't assume everybody will, because some people aren't comfortable. Let people know you're asking if they will be first, but let them know in that conversation that you will. Let them know what the job entails. You'll educate them as to what you need them to say and what they'll be asked. Okay, for a resume, someone said, I've been told not to include your address anymore. The thing about references is sometimes they mail things. That's why we do that. Someone said, how far back in job history should we go? As far back as you need to. More recent is better. No, I would put my friend as a professional acquaintance. Professional acquaintance for 22 years. So that person knows me well as a professional and personal. Can you list direct reports? Sure. If your last position was 15 years, can all your references come from that company? Yes. How would I avoid a reference for a job I had 45 plus years? I don't think you can avoid that. Can you find someone there, a coworker, or someone who reported to you? We're going to get into this in a minute. Reference versus reference letters. If my reference letters are more than 5 years old, should I still use them or just their basic information? Use their basic information. People are not looking for reference letters anymore. Unless they ask you, they really want to contact people and discuss certain questions with them about you, generally speaking. So I would try to get updated letters just for your files, in case you want to offer them after. One thing I want you to remember, the most important part about references, you do not give them until you are asked to provide them. You do not automatically give them to anyone. You do not put references available upon request at the bottom of your resume. You don't do that. That's old school. When I go on an interview, I physically have my references ready with me in case they ask. If they don't ask, I don't provide them. If they ask, I'm ready for them. So all of this is preparation. And your references, again, when they ask for them. And again, here's who you ask: managers, subordinates. If working with agents and wish to have reference before interviewing a potential job, should I give the agent my reference? You mean like a placement person? Yes. I was asked to share my driver's license with the recruiter yesterday. I made sure to cover my birth date and license number. Absolutely. Always be cautious. with your personal information until you have a written letter of intent. Always be cautious with your personal information. We have a job workshop that talks about scams, how to be careful about scams. Please be careful giving private information. Again, you can use managers, subordinates, coworkers, business contacts. You can use vendors. And if someone, again, if you're filling out an application and it asks for 3 references, they're asking for it, you provide them. When they ask for them, you provide them. If they don't ask, you don't give them. If an application asks for them, you give them. If you can't find people like business contacts or vendors, people that can speak to your professional side, look to clergy, civic leaders, civic contributors, professors, business professionals in your life. People who can speak in a professional manner for you. Think about this. If someone asks you for your reference, you're almost there. You have done a fine job, and you've got them to the point where they're checking on you because you're in the running. So if your references are fantastic from people who aren't necessarily coworkers, just a fantastic reference might be great. Okay, someone else said that they applied for a job and the application asked for their license number and they decided not to apply, and that's fine too. You've got to go with what you feel. Someone else said if you're volunteering for an organization, could you ask your supervisor? Absolutely. Anyone for any time that supervises what you do, paid or unpaid. What you're looking for are people that can speak to your professional side. Who would be able to speak professionally for me and about me? Absolutely, when you're working as a volunteer, you're professional. Choose wisely. Like I said, try to get what I like to do. Personally, I like to get 5 people set up so that if there's a lot of people that are going to call, I can rotate my references so I don't wear anybody out. So you might want to have 3 solid references, 2 as a backup. You might change them occasionally based on the fact that you don't want anyone to have too many phone calls. Completely up to you. But ask ahead of time and let them know ahead of time that you will let them know what job you're going for so they won't be caught off guard. Okay? When do I provide the references? After they ask for them. So again, we've kind of talked about this, but let's talk a little bit more about it. Here's a sample. And again, this one is just a different way of being set up. It matches the guy's cover letter and resume. He puts the word references. Let me make this a little bigger. Actually, I guess I can't. Okay, I can't. Sorry about that. When you get this, you can look at it a little more closely. It's a different format. Make it your own. 3 references, generally what you need. You need to put down all the contact information for them because sometimes people still send out paperwork to references. They're still in the past right now, unfortunately. Again, and you're asking people for permission. Ask them for the direct contact information. Ask them if you can use their cell phone. Make it convenient for them to be a reference, but also make it convenient for the reference to get a hold of them. That's what you really want to do. So again, like I said, reach out to those contacts by email, phone, or text, but really phone is best. You can have a conversation. It's probably one of the few times that are still left where a conversation might be better. So try to call them if you can. Connect with them on LinkedIn and ask them if you can give them a call. You want 5 minutes of their time to talk about reference. That's all. Talking might be faster, better, easier, totally up to you. But make sure you ask. Have 3 references and 2 backup. Be sure to prepare them. When you know what the job is all about, send them the job. Personally, What I do for some people is I'll put a little note with it saying, do you remember when we worked on ABC 123 similar to this in the job ad? Do you remember my ability to do ABC 123 as they are looking for in this job? I put a little personal note when I send the job to the reference, kind of reminding them of what my strengths and my abilities were. That's what I do. I'm not telling them what to say, I'm reminding them of my accomplishments. So they feel comfortable addressing what's in the job ad versus what they think about me. I've had people say, she's so funny. Well, that's not a great reference. I need someone that'll say she's a great communicator. So choose your references wisely and prepare them with what you need them to say. Someone says, when a job asks for someone's address, does that mean job or home? My reference is not at a job that I know of now. Well, then they'd have to use you'd have to ask them. Ask them if they're comfortable using their home address. Someone else said, this is where networking while you have a job pays off. Absolutely, but if you didn't network, start now. Start networking with people. You'll be surprised how many people you're connected to. It's a whole other topic. We've got lots of networking workshops too. Great comment. So as I said here, this is what I just said in writing. I'm going to give you a situation at the end where you can download the PowerPoint presentation so you'll have all of this rather than read off the screen. Sometimes I'd like to just chat with you. So again, remind them, show them, let them know what was valuable. They may not remember. I sometimes use references that are 10 years old if they really are really directly related to the job. Like if I were going back into travel, I haven't been in travel for 15 years, but I would go back to my travel contacts, use some of my current contacts, use some of my travel contacts. I would mix it up if I were going back. It's best that they speak to the industry you're going to if they can. Forgot about the TY note. What if it is a one-way hire view interview? If you can't do it, you can't do it. If there's no time or opportunity, I would send a thank you note afterwards. If they're going to hire you right away, send a thank you afterwards. Doesn't hurt. Okay. Thank you notes are always appreciated. Always appreciated, because who thanks anybody anymore? Now I put this in red. Do not let references call. I'm sorry, do not let that reference call from a company catch your reference by surprise. Make sure they're prepared. They will best represent you if you prepare them. It might mean another phone conversation. It might mean an email or a text. But let them know the point to the job and what it is you want to focus on. Ask them if they feel qualified or comfortable being a reference. That's really the best way to ask so they don't feel like it's a yes, no. Yes, I will, no, I won't. A lot of pressure that way. If they say yes, they'll be a reference, give them a copy of your resume and the job ad. Let them be comfortable with who you are right now. That's why I send a little note along as well, talking about skills I may have developed. Someone said a thank you note is something that's mental health experts say are very needed in these times. Ain't that true? That is true. Anything personal right now has a great impact. And be sure to thank your thank yous. Don't forget to thank them as well. If somebody really gets you the job, send them a gift card if you can. That's my motto, but you know, it's up to you. I know you've been unemployed. Send them a really sincere thank you note, could be even more important. Generally, be sure to send thank you notes after an interview. We're recapping right now. Send a thank you note after a networking event. If you spent time with someone at a networking event and you got some information from them that was valuable, send them a thank you to say thank you. It was valuable to find out about ABC. Anyone that assists you in your job search, send a thank you note. It takes you 5 minutes. If someone gave you a great networking contact, write a thank you to them, mentioning the networking contact and how that's worked out for you. Thank people for their time. Someone said that you have to put an address of the reference these days. Most people are working remotely. Should you use their office address? Ask the person which one is best to connect with them. What is the best place for someone to connect with you if they were to send you something? That's what I would do. I would ask the reference, make sure that they're comfortable. Now, the last line says, let them know when you get the job. Let them know. Thank them. Let them know they'll be so happy. And even if you didn't get it, thank them anyway for their assistance and support right now. They might get that thank you note and you could make their day. We're all so disconnected right now that thank you notes are helping connect us all. Thank you is always wonderful. Okay, so here's a sample of a thank you note. Again, I'll give you a minute to read it over. I won't read it, but go ahead and read through it. Okay, did everybody get through it? This person talks about excitement. This person talks about how they match. This person talks about they're looking forward to it. Everything about this is positive. Someone said, in experience, can you use generic many years? Absolutely. You never, ever, ever want to put more than 15 years on any form that you do in your job search. Never say more than 15 years. Even if you were a truck driver for 25 years, you have extensive experience. Extensive experience. 15 plus. You never put more than 15 on a resume, a cover letter, a thank you, anywhere. The number 15 is the maximum number on any form to do with job search. Okay, and we talk about that more in the resume workshop, so keep taking those workshops, folks. You're going to get all kinds of tidbits. Okay, now if you notice the subject line, it says, thank you for the job title, interview date on, and I would add my name up there. That's just me. I like to put my name everywhere. Reminds them who you are. Put your name everywhere. Okay, so here's resources. Let me ask you right now, we're wrapping things up. Do you have any more questions? Do you have any more questions? And I'm giving you some samples here. Thank you examples and templates are from this particular website in blue, thebalancecareers.com. When you look at these websites for these different tips, what you want to do is you want to go into like themuse.com, sign up for their daily email tips for job search. Okay, thank you. Let me go on. Here again, URL for the best tips for references, the right and wrong way to ask for a reference. Someone said they heard that the word eager and excited are not appropriate. Again, you're going to hear both sides to the story. You might go in and look up a better term, Google a different term for that and use a different one. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. This is the first time we've done this workshop. That's why we have over 50 people in it. I'm glad you all came. Now, we have more workshops. The first line here is to show you how to look at our workshops. We have, if you, instead of category workshops, you put category events. We have the Massachusetts Human Resources representative on the 17th of March is doing how to get state jobs. So look at our events calendar. The one I have listed here is the workshop calendar. Change it to events, and you'll see that we have on March 17th, how to get Mass state jobs. It's a great workshop. You get to know the HR person. Sign up for that. It's on our page that's called events. We have a YouTube channel where hopefully I will put this particular video. I'm going to actually say goodbye to the YouTube folks. Thank you for coming. Everybody else stay on. I'm going to show you how to download this. Thanks so much, YouTube folks. Come again.